Welcome to lesson 3 on Python. This one's about strings. If you remember from our last lesson, strings are text, words, numbers, but numbers you can't do math to. Numbers that are just going to be the number itself. It's just going to remember that's the symbol for this number. It's not talking about the math and the value behind the number. Words, spaces, anything within quotes is a string in Python. What we're going to go through today is here's what we're going to learn. We're going to learn how to create a string object. We're going to print a string onto a screen like, bam, look, it's a string. We're going to talk about string indexing. We're going to talk about concatenating, which is adding strings together. And we're going to talk about built-in string methods, which is words we'll talk more about later. And a couple of cool things that you can do with strings. So let's just jump right in. I don't want to make this video super long, so let's just jump right in. Here we go. All right, so open up your Jupyter Notepad and get a blank, or you can use the one from before. It doesn't really matter. And on this first line, let's make a string. All right, so to make a string in Python, you use quotes. Notice that in the Jupyter Notepad, if I put a quote, it automatically puts in two quotes because it knows, like, hey, man, if you're going to open a quote, you're definitely going to need to close it at some point. So it puts in two quotes and puts your cursor right between it. And I could type in here, like, I don't know, let's just say Dearborn. So Dearborn, and it's between two quotes. This is a string. Right now, if I hit Shift, Enter, it's just like, Dearborn. It just spits out Dearborn. I said Dearborn, and now it says Dearborn. Okay, fine. And that's basically the what's going on kind of behind the scenes. Jupyter Notebook kind of shows you what each line of code is doing. So what this is saying is that this line of code is saying Dearborn. Okay, fine. Let's say I want to assign this string to a variable. So I say, or a variable object, right? So I say my school, and I say equal Dearborn. Now I hit Shift. It doesn't spit out anything because all I'm doing is I'm assigning Dearborn to my school. But now when I type in my school, and I hit Shift Enter, it says, oh, Dearborn. Dearborn gets spit out. So when I say my school, Dearborn gets spit out. Okay, that makes sense. So Dearborn, this guy here, I'm pointing to my screen, you can't see that. So this guy here, Dearborn, this string is assigned to my school. You can write strings in, if I say, like, let's leave it at that. Yeah, so quotes, I'm not going to get into, sure. All right, so some cool things you can do with strings is if I say, let's say, my school, and I say times 3, and this is in Python. This does not work in other programming languages, or not all other programming languages. But if I say my school times 3, what's Dearborn times 3? Well, let's see. Shift, Enter. Oh, it's Dearborn, Dearborn, Dearborn. There's no space in between it because there's no space characters inside that string. If I went back and if I said, my school, and then I said equals, and I say Dearborn, Dearborn, and then I put a space afterwards, and now I say my school times 3. It adds that space. But also notice there's a space over here at the end here, right? So let's just go back and set my school back to equals Dearborn. Leave it like that. Okay, so my school equals Dearborn. My school equals, so if I say my school, there we go, Dearborn. Notice that around, when I say my school, it has these little apostrophes around it. This is basically saying the value of my school is Dearborn. If I was actually writing a real program in Python, this would not get presented on the screen. This is something that's going on behind the scenes, and in Jupyter Notepad, it's showing you on the screen because you're learning right now. But in reality, when we get into using something like Visual Studio, you would not see this output right here. You would just see my school and that would be it. You wouldn't know what was behind there, what was going on behind the scenes. If you wanted to put something on the screen, you would say print, and this is a print function. A function is like a piece of code that is actually referring to a bunch of other code somewhere that does something complex. So, and we'll hopefully get into functions in this course. Print was what you would use to put something on the screen. So if I print my school, notice how there's no apostrophes around it, no quotes around it. And the reason there's no quotes around it is because it's printing the value of my school, and the value of my school is Dearborn. It doesn't have any quotes around it. It's just printing the value there. So when I want to print something, and this is what you would do if you wanted to print something onto the screen when you are programming in Python. It's the way that you do that. The next thing I want to get into is string indexing. So let's pop back over here. So here's a string, DSA forever, right? And this string has 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces count, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This has 10 characters in it. What I can do in Python is I can say, I would like you to show me just one of these characters, and I can refer to it by number. I can say, show me the 4th character of this string, and it would spit out the 4th character of the string. So, but the way that Python and all computers count is they count starting with 0. So this D here, this D is actually in index space 0. So I would say, if I wanted to see this D, I would say, show me the 0 index for this D. And it would show me D, because that is the first space. Then I have the second space, which is actually 1, because I'm counting up from 0. The third space is 2. The fourth space is 3. The fifth space is 4. And so on and so forth. So you go all the way through. And you count up. I don't know how we got to 8, but whatever. I think I counted wrong at the first round. And you count up by 0. This indexing is super powerful because a lot of times in programs, somebody will put in a string to be a variable, and you don't want all of the stuff that one. So you just want like something out of like the last, you want just the 3rd character of it, or 4th character, or 5th character of it. I'm trying to think of an example of this. An example would be if you want to put things in alphabetical order, you don't need to fill up your memory with all of the complete words, right? You can just look at the first maybe 2 characters or 3 characters and figure out what order they should be put in. So let's do this in programming. So if I have my school, right? My school, and in order to get the first character, I'm going to put this bracket. Excuse my son screaming in the background. I'm going to get this bracket. And I got bracket, and I say 0. If I say my school bracket 0, I'm going to get D, because D is the first character in that string. If I say, I don't know, my school bracket, let's see, 3. Who can answer this one? Narita. What do you think, Narita? I'm cold calling you. Which character do you think that would be? Okay, so Narita said it would be the R. Let's see if she's right. Yeah, she is right. So the reason why it's the R is if we look at Dearborn here, we have D is 0, E is 1, A is 2, R is 3, the 3rd. Let's say you want to grab everything except for the first letter. You could say my school, and then put bracket up here, and we could say I am going to start on index 1. Remember, index 1 is the second letter. And I am going to go all the way through to the end. This is saying all the way. So basically I'm saying index 1, and then this says all the way to where? To forever, to the end of it. There's nothing there. And I get Earborn. Let's say I want to get my school. I start off at index 1, which is the second letter, and I go all the way to index 1. Here's 1, right? I go to 2, 3, 4, and I want to stop right before 5. I can say 1, 2, 5, and I get Earb, because that's index. So here's 1, and 2, and 3, 4, and the last one, it stops at 5. Think about it like this. It includes the first and stops before the second. Let's say I want everything up until a certain amount. So let's say my school. And I say everything, which is this quote, which is just this bracket. So I have nothing there, which means everything, up until 5. And now we get Deerb, because it grabs that first letter. Okay, there are a lot of string indexing techniques you can use inside the homework. I've listed a few more that you're gonna have to use, but I'm gonna leave it there for now, and then we'll move on to concatenation and methods. So what I can do is I can also say my school. So I say my school, and I can say equals my school. So whatever. So my school equals my school. So Dearborn equals my school plus is the greatest. And now I've changed the variable my school to equal whatever my school was before, which is Dearborn, and then I've added to it is the greatest. So now if I look at my school, I get Dearborn is the greatest. That's pretty cool. So, and if I print that onto the screen, I can say my school, Dearborn is the greatest. That's how you can add. So you can add extra strings onto strings as they go. Finally, these things called string methods. So methods are, with some variables, they have special actions you can do onto the variable, and it's kind of built into the variable. So what I can say is if I have, let's say, my school equals, I'm just going to go back here and I'm going to say, it's, I'll just leave it. Yeah, say so. My school right now is Dearborn is the greatest. And notice that it's Dearborn is the greatest. I have capital D, and then I have lowercase the rest of the words. If I say my school, and I say dot upper, now it takes everything and puts it uppercase. But it does it for that instance. It doesn't change my variable. My school is still lowercase. It just does it for that instance. It just takes my school, makes it upper for that instance. If I wanted to change the variable my school to be uppercase, I'd have to say my school equals, and that changes the variable to my school dot upper parentheses. And now my school is all uppercase. If let's say I wanted to say my school and make it lowercase, I could say lower. And then drops everything to lowercase, right? It drops, so now everything's lowercase. Again, I have not changed the value of my school yet. If I go back to my school, it's all still uppercase. But if I want to change the value of my school, I'd say my school equals my school, and then dot lower. And now, if I go to my school, it makes it all lowercase. Last thing I want to show you. If I say Len, and I say my school, it gives me a number. What do you think that number is? Lorenzo, what do you think that number is? Oh, yes, Lorenzo, that number is the length in characters of all of there. One sec, big man. One sec, man. I'm getting yelled at. All right. Of all the characters inside your string. So if you ever need to know the length of your string, you can say len my school, and it tells you the length of your string. This comes in super handy later on when you're programming stuff about being like, hey, if I don't want anything to be past a certain length, I could say, what's the length of this string? And then I can say, well, then cut off the end of it, or if I want everything up until the end, or up until the, there's lots of things that we can use this for. So with that, I don't want to make this too long. I'm gonna end this video. Hopefully, this is enough to get you guys to be able to do your homework. Email me with any questions you guys got. Later.